Have you noticed that the cost of ebooks is starting to go up, and in some cases it's actually becoming more equal to the physically printed copies of books? There's actually a couple of different reasons for this. Now, the first thing that we hear from people is, why is this so expensive? There's no overhead to a digital ebook. You're not printing it on paper. There's no ink involved in this. So why is it costing us anything? Because there's no overhead. This is actually a bad assumption because there is some overhead. And so what you need to know is that there is a base rate that we have to charge as authors and publishers for our books so that the distributors are getting their cut. This is the minimum that we're allowed to charge and make no profit on it. Above that, we have to add in our profitability. We have to make some money on the books that we're selling to people, because if we don't have a career. So this can range anywhere from a couple of cents to, if we're really lucky, a couple of dollars per sale. We are not making much money as authors, no matter what royalty rate we're getting. It's really one of those businesses where you have to sell a ton of copies or you're not making enough money to cover your time writing this book. So you have to understand that we have that base rate, and then we set that rate higher. Usually we're looking at $1, $2, maybe $3. We don't really see a lot of people outside of the traditional publishing space making that much money for reasons that we've talked about in other videos. And so we are setting this as low as we can while still making a tiny bit of money off of this. But beyond that flat fee that we have to have, that required cut that goes to the distributors, there's actually delivery fees for digital files, because the bigger the digital file, the more it's going to cost us to deliver it. So for example, if you have a book that has a bunch of graphics in it, so cover pages and chapter headers and scene dividers, maybe some character art, that file size is going to be bigger. Amazon and some of the other distributors have decided they can charge for that. So the bigger the file, the more they're going to charge the author, the publisher for. This can range anywhere from 10 cents to 20 cents to $1 to $5, depending on how big that ebook is. Now, there is a certain amount that you are allowed to have for free delivery that's covered by their cut. Anything above that is going to cost the author or publisher out of their pocket, out of their profits. So then if it's going to be a 20-cent delivery fee and our profit is going to be 50 cents, that brings it down to 30 cents. So sometimes we have to compensate for that. Sometimes we just have to eat that cost. And sometimes to then deal with that, to not have that delivery fee, we have to strip down the book. So it's text only. There's nothing pretty. There's nothing special. The maps are taken out of it. The extra graphics and character art taken out of it so that you can buy it at a lower price, but you don't get any of the pretty things, the extra work and effort we put into it that the print copies are going to get. And that is entirely up to the author and publisher, and that's based on who their audience is and what their audience wants. Do they value that low rate book, or do they value the pretty things and are willing to pay a little bit more for it to compensate for the file size? There are some books, many books, that have had to strip it down or reduce the file size or do all sorts of things because the file delivery fee was more than they would make, no matter what price they were setting it at. As if it was a reasonable to the reader price, that delivery fee would be higher. And the author or publisher would end up owing Amazon money on every single sale instead of making money. Sometimes you would have to pay 10 cents out of pocket because you didn't charge enough for your royalties. And oftentimes book distributors will change their rates. And so if authors don't go in and manually adjust all of their royalty rates, not royalty rates, but the price of the book, they can also owe Amazon money. It's one of those things that they have to be very vigilant about checking and making sure that they're still making money on each of those books that are being sold. So there is a delivery fee, there is overhead, and it's not based on physical, tangible products, but because that's the way the internet works. They have to pay for the space, they have to pay for their hosting, they have to pay for their different things that are all used and the different services that they have to deliver those things virtually and digitally. And it comes into play when we have those file delivery fees. So you're going to see people who strip down their books so that they can keep the cost low. They're going to see people who are going to have to charge a little bit more to accommodate some of those things. And things like omnibuses are going to be an entirely different story because now we're packing multiple books into one digital format. And no matter how stripped down we make that, it is going to be more of a file size because there's 3, 4 times, 5 times the books inside of this one book. And of course, with omnibuses, there's a little bit of an understanding that you're paying for those 3 different books, even though it's in one digital file. So you are going to see those higher prices on omnibuses. Instead of having like a $3.99 book, you're going to see a $19.99 version of it for 5 books in the series. So you're still going to get a discount on buying them individually, but it is going to be a higher price. So some ebooks, if you see something that's like very high priced, you are probably getting a ton of graphics, or you're going to be getting like a lot of like children's books with beautiful, beautiful artwork. All of it is just heavy files. You're going to see that. You're also going to see that for things like omnibuses having that higher rate. So you want to make sure that you understand that there is an overhead, that there is some other things that you need to take into consideration for this when you are looking at that in terms of why it is so expensive. The other thing you have to understand is that there is this very rightful and pervasive thought process in the publishing space that you're not paying for the physical product. You're not paying for the product, you're paying for the story. You're getting access to the book, to the story, to the mind of the author, to the characters, to the world building, to the book itself in whatever form it is. And so to have such a huge price discrepancy is discounting and disvaluing the story that's being told. So a lot of readers look at it in a format sort of sense. They're paying for the paper, they're paying for the ink, they're not paying for the book. They're paying for the digital words on the digital page, they're not paying for the book. Authors and publishers tend to look at it as, this is a story, you're paying for the story, you're just getting it in a different format. You're getting it in an audiobook, you're getting it in a physical book, you're getting it hardcover, you're getting it in a paperback, you are going to be getting it in digital form, but you're paying for the story. Yes, there's some overhead. Yes, there's some physical things we have to pay for to distribute that to you, be it in a physical capacity or in digital capacity. We're going to eat that cost, but the story itself is what you're paying for. And so they try to get it equal or more so equal. And it's just a perspective thing. It is just the value of the story. So what are we valuing here? Is it the value you're paying for the value of the book, the story you're getting in whatever format it is, or are you just paying for paper and ink? And so you just have to understand that that is the mindset. And there's no one right or wrong answer to that. There's not something that's going to be more right or less right. It's just a conversation, but that is the mindset of this. What are we actually pricing? What are we actually valuing here? And that's something that's going to play out continually inside of the publishing industry. And we've seen it happen all along the journey of the publishing industry. And we're going to get more and more conversations about that. But that is why you may see, even if it is not super graphic heavy or file heavy for that digital ebook, you might see some people, some publishing houses, some authors putting it at a relatively similar price to the physical copies because they're putting the money into the story itself, and the format doesn't matter. They're going to eat that overhead on either side for you. So just a perspective conversation. Let me know, what do you think in the comments down below? Did you know that we actually get charged delivery fees for those digital ebooks for you? Did you know that actually comes out of our royalties? Did you know that's on top of what they already charge us? Let's get talking down in the comments and follow along for daily videos helping you navigate the world of publishing, from your writing to your publishing to your marketing, to make this your most profitable year ever with least amount of stress and overwhelm and time commitment on your content creation in your author life, so that you can live out your author dreams while also still having a life. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.